Isn't that the truth? Somebody posted on Facebook yesterday that this was worse than the storm in 2007. When you all got all that.
I can remember.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bad.
And it's my friends in Memphis, it is really bad. And of course, they don't have any, it's like in Texas, they don't have any equipment to plow and salt and all that stuff. So they're really, even across to Nashville, I have friends that are in the Nashville area. So, okay. That's okay. I think we are finally good to go.
So the only one we're missing is Julie. We know Gina's not going to be here, so we're missing Julie. That's the only
But
one
we
we're
have
missing.
1, 2.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we've got a quorum.
Yeah. 4, 5. Oh, that's right. We have 6. Okay. I was trying to, sorry, my head kind of hurts this morning. So I think my blood pressure is not good right now. So, all right, Wendy, you have to do your thing.
Okay. I hope my internet will keep up. Okay, let's call this meeting to order for February 18th. And Gina, do you want to start with the minutes or do you want to start with updates?
Well, let's start with the minutes and I'll explain. I had gone into the library last Saturday, I guess it was. I managed to get out of my steep driveway and got everything attached and sent to you all. I didn't realize I had not attached the minutes until yesterday when I went to type out the February 9th minutes, and I always use my previous minutes as a template. So I was like, well, I guess I have to go into the library because I don't have them. I didn't have them at home. And I got a neighbor kid dug me out. Bless his heart. I'm telling you, my driveway's not easy. Went to the library and I knew we had actually, and I'll talk about this more in the director's report, which is verbal. I went to the library so that I could do that, only to discover that when this kid or whoever it is broke in the first time, stole my jump drive out of my hard drive on my desk, which has all my records for the whole time I've been the library director.
Great.
So I had fortunately, side note, I have fortunately saved a backup back in September. So I've only lost October, November, December, and January, and part of February. So I can recreate some of it. Some of it's just lost. I don't even know what's not there to worry about. But really, I mean, it was a little crap drive. It didn't even have the head of the little thing that hooked it. It was just malicious, if you ask me. And there's nothing on there he can use. It's just boring stuff. I mean, there's some things about employees and salaries, but what's he going to do with that? There's not social security numbers or anything like that. So he'll just be bored out of his mind reading it, whatever. Or he'll just throw it away is what I imagine. So at any rate, so you don't have the minutes because I couldn't access them. I have a paper copy of them here at the house, but I didn't take that with me to the library, so I couldn't scan them. And as we left last night, the advice of the locksmith who's coming, who should be there right now, hopefully, was to break the keys off in the locks. So I couldn't go back and scan them, and I don't know how to scan them at my house. So that's the story. I'll send them to you as soon as I can. And I'll have the new minutes, the February 9th minutes. And if it's not a big deal because that can be approved at the next meeting. So it just is what it is.
And I took minutes at the 9th meeting. I've got
did-
them here.
Okay, and I did too. So
Yeah.
it's really the February 9th minutes are not going to say much other than we met with Stiefel. I mean, pretty
Yeah.
much what I said for LJ Hart. So, which was, just a paragraph that we asked for information to finance the amount that we wanted to, and they provided information on what they could do for us. So that's basically all that Stiefel's going to say, because it's a lot of detail and I don't know that that really has to go in the minutes. So.
Okay, well, and if I'm a really bad about not deleting emails, so if you have sent us stuff from September to now with attachments that would help you, let me know. I can send it right back to you, because
Okay.
I'm
Well,
bad about not.
I think I can go back and pull some stuff, but Google, since we do email through Google, it deletes your trash after so much time. Some things I can just scan and put in there and it's not a big deal, but I try to keep everything like that. Just, I don't know that it's really necessary. It's just backup. I have paper copies of everything because I keep notebooks because we have to keep it forever. So
Well, I'm impressed that you backed up in September. I'm not a good backer upper either, so good for you.
Joyce, I think I did it because I was working some from home, and with all the stuff with mom and dad, I wanted to be able to have it if I needed it. And so
I've got a lot of that on my computer because I also don't delete a whole lot of stuff either, especially if it's something that's been forwarded to me. Then I usually keep, if I don't print it off, I keep it on mine. So I've got mine back to no telling when either.
The lesson learned is, Leanne, for the last several years, I can save it to I think she calls it the NAS, to a special drive for me. And that's what I'm just going to start doing. I'm not even going to use the jump drive anymore. And it's always backed up that way. It's just that it was nice to have it to my jump drive because I could take it with me. So, and I can't access the NAS from home. So I don't think, but it is what it is. Lesson learned. We usually keep my office locked. We stopped doing it because we weren't having problems. So we'll have to sort all
the
that.
cleaning people couldn't get in either, and we didn't want to give them a key to your office, so we left it open so they could vacuum and empty the trash. So I guess we'll have to do it ourselves from now on because.
Okay, well, shall we move on to the January financial report?
Yeah. So, we've received quite a bit of our tax money. So you can see we received about $685,987 and some change. And year to date on current tax, we've actually collected over $1 million. And if you look over at last January, we're well above where we were last year to this date. The delinquent, we're about even, Steven, and with the rest of it, we're sort of roughly in line where we were last year. So we're doing pretty well, I think, in that respect. We'll still get money, and we have, it's just we won't report on it in the next couple of months as well. So that current tax amount should go up even more. Otherwise, we've gotten fairly normal collections for the month. If you look at 4033, which was memorials and donations, I had reported last month about the $6,000. Was it 6,000, Joyce, from?
Well, it was 3,000 from her, and then she put in for the matching, which they doubled. So between the two of them, we got 9.
Yeah. But I think this is partly reflected from the 6,000 I think we received, or whatever it was. So and then I'm sorry, that's an 8501. I said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Why do we have 8,000 in the, that was her donation, wasn't it? Okay. Okay. So for the end of the month, we have collected 871, 830, and overall for year to date, 1.4 million, a little over 1.4 million. And so we're up about 400,000 over last year. So this is about what we predicted, maybe a little bit more. It's helping us here in Monette, particularly because we have so much new construction going on. So I think we've collected a little bit more, and that's hard to predict. You know, we went through several years where they didn't build at all, and we didn't collect hardly anything on new construction. So with our expenditures, we didn't really have a lot going on this month. I think we had to pay off some things, and then the things from the Delta roofing expenses where we had the leak at Mount Vernon. That's in here, and I think the other half of the payment for the roof as well. So that's why that's a little bit higher than normal. We will recoup from the losses we suffered from the leak at Mount Vernon. We're just, we've submitted everything to Delta Roofing for repayment, but they've now decided, since it was so much money, that, what was it, Joyce? $12,000, something like that.
Yeah, we were closer to about 15, and everybody was surprised, even them. So they turned it over to their insurance company instead. Yeah. They were hoping it would be less than 10, in which case they would just pay it out of their pocket and not report it. But for an amount that much, they really have to turn it in on their liability.
What happened is the bulk of the stuff was the books that were damaged. Mm-hmm. And so even though we usually get a pretty substantial discount through our vendor for replacement, we did not pass the entire discount on to them because of processing costs. And so now the insurance company is asking for more information than we've provided. So what a headache, you know, that we're going to have to jump through hoops, but they have to have proof, I guess, that we're not screwing them over. So Joyce and I have to figure out how to provide what they want beyond what we've already done. So, and it's complicated in the book world because it's not exact, and people just don't understand that. It's not like toilet paper. Toilet paper is $1.49 and 10% is 14 cents off, but with books, it's just different. You know,
and about $8,000 of that balance was books.
Yeah,
I mean, we had that many books that had to be replaced. So,
if you go down to the bottom of the financial sheet, you can see for checking operations, we're at 1,112,916. We never had to cash that CD, so that's good. We're over where we were last January, but you can see from January 2019, we're significantly under where we were there. But part of the money from that January 2019 went into the building fund from
well, we transferred money from both from what we called excess. You know, we transferred part of it to Shell Knob, part of it to the Monette Building Fund. And we looked up all of the building fund that came out of tax dollars for Shell Knob. And basically 150,000 of their balance came from tax dollars, which could turn right around and come back out if it's not going to be used on a building down there.
Yeah, Joyce verified how much of that money was in the reserve funds for Shell Knob that could come out. So, but we'll decide that down the road if we really need to do that.
Okay, so do we need a motion to approve the financial report, or is there more?
Nope, that's it, unless you all have any questions.
Motion. I make a motion to approve it.
Mr. Fighter, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Okay. Janine, I think.
Janine,
Okay. We got a group second. Okay. And so moving on to the circulation statistics, Gina.
Okay. Okay, so for the month of January, we did pretty well, I think, overall, all things considered. We circulated over 18,000 items. I still don't understand why we're showing such a low circulation as compared to the year before. I don't understand. I don't understand at all why Evergreen is not showing it. We are busy with circulation and we're busy with things coming in and out. And we're still not doing something right, or Evergreen's just not showing us the reports right, but it is what it is.
And so much of that circulation is Evergreen, and they don't count all of that as circulation. And so we don't understand why, but they don't.
You can't, and we can't count things that are circulated in other libraries.
Which is crazy because we're still circulating it to our patrons, but they don't look at it that way.
Because it's counted in their circulation, just like their items are counted in our circulation for our customers. So we're only counting our internal circulation from our customers. We were open at 19 days, just like we were last year. We averaged 936 circulations. We continue to add about 1,500 to 2,000 customers a month, which is weird, but we do. And because you can see the number of card holders went up from 26,951 to 28,153. So we're still doing really well with our ebook circulation. MoLib to go, we were at 2468. And with e-checkouts in January of 2020, we were at 2496. So we're almost even Steven. But if you look at Hoopla, we're up almost 500 circulations in Hoopla. So I will say on a side note, because I didn't put this in my director's report, we were hitting the top of the numbers on Hoopla, and people were not able to check out usually by about 5 o'clock, Joyce. It was blocked because what they do is they take the amount that we pay per month and they divide it up per day. So I can't remember, it was like $139 a day or something over the 30 days or however many days it was for the month. And so if the checkouts equaled that amount by 5 o'clock, then everybody was blocked until midnight the next day.
Start another day.
Including me, you know. So because I've been reading a lot more online, imagine that. At any rate, I called Hoopla, and they made some recommendations, and I didn't like them because I thought they were full of hot air. But so we made some adjustments. We had increased circulations per month during the pandemic to 10. I think we were at 6 or 5 before. So we have adjusted that down to 7. And then we had already had the top of on the audio checkouts, which is our top checkout, our audio books. We had already decreased the maximum per item to $3, I think, or $2.99. And they had recommended we do that across the board. And I just didn't want to lower that amount because I didn't want people blocked from getting stuff like Harry Potter and so forth, because those more expensive items were there. And so I increased the monthly budget by $500. And so we'll see how things go. So far, as when I've checked out things at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I haven't been blocked. And
Okay.
we're not getting, well, of course, we haven't been in the office, have we, Joyce? So
No, gosh.
they can't get a hold of us to tell us, but I don't think it's a problem. So that, hopefully that'll get our, keep our circulations up, even though they won't get 10, but we didn't have as many people doing the 10 checkouts. So.
And a lot of the new card holders are coming from Hoopla because the phone calls we get from people are, how do I get a library card to use Hoopla? So I think a lot of them are signing up for them because they know we have it now. And we get a lot of phone calls that we explain to them how to get a library card and then how to get on Hoopla. So I think it's that's caused a lot of the increase in card holders. They may not be coming in, but they're using our services.
We also, you can see our use of Ancestry is way down. But even at 101 circulations last year in January, that was not a typical month. So I have notified Ancestry that we were not renewing, and I was kind of terse with them because they asked me if we were able to allow our customers to access it remotely. And I'd even forgotten that was an option. And I told them no, because we never could work it out with them because they wanted us to do all the hard stuff, since that's not, so we were going to have to figure out how to get our users hooked up with the SIP protocol. And we decided we just couldn't do that after talking with our, what's it called? Avitas, Avitas, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So
the tech service.
So that will not be renewed. I didn't think $4,000 for 8 checkouts over the course of a year was worth the cost. They still will have access to Heritage Quest, which we pay for as part of our MoreNet membership. So again, I just think people are buying Ancestry because then they can have it at home and they don't have to come to the library. So until they offer it remotely, and
a personal subscription is far cheaper for them than our, corporate subscription for the library. So a lot of people can afford it because they had a special that they advertised on TV not long ago for $69. So, and that's a personal account. So, you can tell the difference in what they charge for anybody that's considered corporate.
So, and the fact that we can't offer it remotely is a huge issue. So, which I understand that would be profit loss for them, maybe not.
Hello.
So, at any rate, so I felt like I could put that extra money into Hoopla. And so I'll still be exploring other resources, mostly for book and audio checkout, because that's where people are really seeming to want it. I'm less worried about the music because, Spotify and there's iTunes and so forth. People are so used to doing that on their own. So I just don't know that it's worth putting money into that as a resource in this community. So at any rate, and if you go over to the miscellaneous report, we had computer uses of 1185, which is about half. But again, pandemic has really hurt us on that because we have so many computers shut down. Curbside, we're still doing curbside. I think we'll continue that, and those numbers are still pretty good. And then with our meetings, we had 138, our programs, we had 138 programs with 3312 attendance. A lot of those programs are virtual. We do have some locations that are doing programs outside of the library in locations where they can socially distance, which we've talked about this before. And then some people are doing virtual programs that varies place to place because some people I don't think are comfortable doing it. And they translate that into my customers really don't want it. Or their customers really don't want to attend the virtual programs because their kids are doing so much virtual stuff anyway. And one more thing they just don't want to do. So a lot of passive programming. So they're keeping busy doing things when they're actually able to work. So, and then with the branch activity report, there's really not anything here, I think, special to talk about. It's pretty much the same thing I told you with the programs. They're just doing what they're supposed to do. So there was, I like when the branches put stories about how the library helps them with things.
Yeah.
And so if you look at Mount Vernon, they're really good about this. Mount Vernon and Miller in particular. A patron's husband had COVID, needed to work from home, and they didn't have the internet. So she checked out a hotspot. Unfortunately, her husband passed away,
Ooh,
never made it home. He was in the hospital, and after his passing, their kids were able to be with her and do their jobs online instead of having to go back and forth. She brought the hotspot back and was so thankful to the library for offering this service and allowing her kids to be with her. So
Right.
I thought that was nice. And Leanne can use that when she does her report, since we got the money for the hotspots with a grant. So I thought that was really, really nice when the branches share that, because we don't always hear the stories. So, yep. So that's pretty much it on the circulation.
Okay, so we don't need to approve that, right? We go on to the
No.
director's report.
mm-mm.
Yeah, let me pull up my, well, I don't know where my director's report is, because Gina got me off track a little bit in, hang on just a second here. I know what's on it, so I'll just tell you. So, I just talked about, I'm sorry I didn't get it to you. I just talked about last week was a rough week. We had some locations that were open at the beginning of the week. I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, various locations were open for various hours because of all the ice. And then by Thursday, we just gave up because it was just getting too difficult. I worry about staff safety when they're trying to get to work. And I have to say, these supervisors are tenacious. They really want to be at their branches. They really want to serve customers. And sometimes I have to remind them that, yes, but it's not at your expense. I can't, customers will get over it. We can field the questions and the hurt and the anger that we're not open, but I can't replace a body because they died or got injured or whatever on the way to work. So, and sometimes you have to protect the customers and think about the liability for the library if somebody falls on our property.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that goes into those decisions to close locations. We probably could have been open Saturday, but it's always kind of a crapshoot about how to predict all that. And only the big locations are open for 4 hours on the weekends. And then this week, of course, we were closed Monday, and that was good because it was a holiday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, we've had various branches open again for various amounts of hours based on who could get where. The ones that continue to remain closed are Eagle Rock and Shell Knob. Jennifer has done a really good job of sending me photos of what the roads look like. She's tried to talk to customers because they call her at home. And so, when you live and work in the same community, and she's part of the Eagle Rock Association, they have her number. She's been able to really keep up with how road conditions are. And so we just decided that it was not worth trying to be open when those back twisty roads are still not great. So hopefully by tomorrow, we can open all locations, either our normal business hours or we've been doing like 10 to 4, 11 to 4, so that people can be home before it gets dark. With it being so cloudy out, it seems to get dark earlier, and then you're not trying to navigate black ice when the light is so low. So we'll determine this afternoon based on how today goes. It looks like it finally stopped snowing here. It was snowing this morning. We'll see how things go. And then Saturday, we've already agreed, I think all the locations can be open, the 4 branches from 9 to 1. And hopefully next week, it's supposed to be 50 on Monday. Yeah, it's a heat day. And we'll be back open for business at that time. So that's really all I had on the director's report until yesterday. So here's the thing. So let's see, today's Thursday. So Tuesday, we were going to open all the locations Tuesday. No, well, part of the locations Tuesday at 11. Greg went in to shovel, and he went early, like around, what was it, around 9ish, I think, and discovered that the library had been broken into. Now, I talked with him a little bit more yesterday, and he said either they left the front door unlocked, or this guy somehow got a copy of one of the keys and went in the front. He didn't go in the back, he went in the front, because he said there were no footprints in the back at all. So
Wow.
so we don't know, we just don't know, but he did not force entry into the front. When he went in, he of course, had easy access. So he went through a bunch of things and obviously stole stuff that we didn't realize. We did call the police. The police came. We didn't have a report of things stolen because we have so much stuff. Until you really have everybody there, you don't know. What we did know, however, was, and which is part of why we didn't open, is that he wanted to get into the IT room, which he would have really done some damage if he did that. And he had used some of the library cards to try to jimmy the lock, and he was unsuccessful because that is a keypad lock on a battery. He didn't know that. So he went to the breaker box and messed with the breakers, and he managed to shut down our servers. So they called the electrical company, Joyce, is that right?
Yeah.
To make, and we got everything back up and running. The internet was down. It took Leanne most of the day to solve that problem with Avitas, but everything's all back up and running in that respect. And he never managed to get in that room because shutting the power wasn't going to get him in that room at all. Kind of does make you wonder if it's a customer, because I think I emailed you. We thought he used his library card, but we found out it was just a bunch of cards from the desk. We did find a driver's license, but again, we don't know. That was turned over to the police. If he did drop his driver's license, he is an idiot, but
Really?
obviously they didn't go pick him up because he came back in. We could not get a locksmith. And so I figured with the cold as it is, and we were supposed to have all this snow, that he wouldn't come back. Well, it was stupid. So I guess that Cindy thinks he came back yesterday morning based on the footprints in the back. Because if he had come back at night, they would have been filled in or filled over with all the snow, and they weren't. It was obvious that he had gone through Joyce's every desk that he could get in. We had locked my office. We had removed, he did not take the keys to the vans, fortunately. And so we had locked all that, and the money that was in my office, we had locked that up in the IT room. But he did take a lot of stuff out of the garage. until Greg comes in and tells me about the outdoor movie equipment. We think he's taken all of that. The towers, the computers that Leanne had swapped out, the new ones, fortunately, the older ones that she was going to redistribute or sell, we think he's taken all of those. He took all the tools. He had boxes out on the dock that he was filling up, I'm sure, to come back last night to take, because we found a couple of different spots with that. He'd gone through all the vans. That's when I discovered that he had taken the keys to the branches, and he also took one of the remote controls. I had as I was talking to Cindy about what all was taken, I was like, I wonder if he can get in using a remote. Did he take the remotes? And so I had to go back out and look, and he took one of them. So we disabled the garage door openers. You know how you can pull the chain, which is tricky. Cindy, God loves Cindy getting on a ladder, because our garage is really tall. And so, and then we broke locks, the keys off in every lock. So that's what the locksmith told us to do, because he couldn't be there till today. And he said he can get us in. So that's kind of where we're at. Joyce and I'm probably going to call, we've replaced locks on Monette 5 or 6 times in the last 5 years. And I think we're just going to have to call Federal Protection, who we use for Aurora, Cassville, and Marionville, and see what it would cost to have them put a security system at Monette, because this is ridiculous, which is another reason we don't need to have a library downtown.
So is there a security system figured in the new library?
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Good. I thought there was.
Okay. Oh yeah. And we're going to have, we've already talked about having special locks where you have to have a key card to access it. So we'll know exactly who's in the building and when. So because you'll have a different access than the cleaning crew will have. So if there's a problem, we can, determine. And we've talked about cameras and all that kind of stuff. So you betcha. That building's, $6 million building has to have good security, especially with all the doors that we have.
So do we need a motion to approve the director's report?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, one more thing before we do that.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I got this note. Sorry. From Rhonda Duff that I wanted to read to you, because it's addressed to the board. I would have just passed it around if we were in person. So, here you go. I feel very fortunate to work for a company that looks out for their employees. Your vision to implement the COVID policy has been a huge blessing. It takes some stress off while being sick and or quarantined. Also, I'd like to thank you for the pay increase. I'm very appreciative for the benefits we have. After almost 30 years, I still love my job and the people I work with. Sincerely, Rhonda Duff.
Nice. Good. Very nice.
I admire thank you note writers. That's like a lost art. I think that's really nice. Some of those other branches have some nice thank you note writers. I appreciate that. Okay. Deborah, you had voted you were going to make a motion to accept the director's report in a second.
Katie. Okay.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you can tell I'm really the person to be doing this. Okay. Old business, the public financing.
Since we've made Alex endure this meeting,
he's loving it.
Sorry, Alex. Could you do the CMR bid thing? It's just a short thing that we need to talk about. And
Absolutely.
then, is that
So,
okay, Wendy, if we skip
Yeah,
and
yeah,
trade?
that's good.
Alex, why don't you explain this, because what
yeah,
Clint
it's perfectly
asked
fine.
us to get approval from the board, so.
So Paragon is assisting in helping Barry Lawrence and Ari Smith negotiate the CMR contract. Paragon has been working on a draft contract that addresses all of the changes in the Missouri statutes, and all of that came to fruition in a good way and a bad way, all at the same time while this was being negotiated. Two of the things that came out of that we found we need to request from the board, whether that's a formal change in the board policies as far as public works projects, or just direction from the board to Ari Smith in terms of their contract. The first one, and Gina and Joyce have worked with us on this, Clint, Mary Compton in our office. This is, it's not just a couple of eyes looking at it. The first is direction from the board on how many public advertisements inside of a time frame does Ari Smith need to notify the public for bids. And the reasoning there is that I think from memory, Gina, the board policies have requirements for actually doing that public advertising, but the number and the duration isn't along with it. So we need to direct Ari Smith on that. In talking with Mary Compton in our office, she worked for Springfield Public Schools on their in their construction department. My experience working with many school districts. The kind of the typical that we've seen is that you hit one advertisement, typically on a weekend, just because those circulations see more eyes and more visibility, and do it over 2 weeks, so that you take out an advertisement on a Saturday and Sunday, that goes for a week, take out another advertisement Saturday, Sunday, that goes for another week. And those 2 weeks tend to be relatively common across our area. That's not a requirement. If the board wants to go for 3 weeks, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to advertise multiple times in those weeks, that's nothing wrong with that. We have folks that require 4 weeks. We have folks that require 2 advertisements a week. It's all on how much the board wants to utilize public advertisements to get bids. So that's the first direction that we need to give to Ari Smith. Second is the bid opening process. And this one's, the first one's pretty simple. The second one is a lot more complicated. The Missouri statutes require, and the wording of this is vague, and it's intentionally that way. The way that Ari Smith, Paragon, and a couple of other CMRs that we've talked to have interpreted is that they open and read the bids aloud. They then, I'm sorry, Ari Smith does not interpret it that way. They say that they, I'm going to screw this up. Open and read the bids aloud. They don't distribute those bid numbers to anyone. In a closed session, they discuss the bids and bidders because it's illegal to discuss that information publicly. Then we need to go into a closed session of the board to select bidders, because again, those have to be private conversations, and then publicly identify who has been selected. The determination that Ari Smith needs is if they receive the bids, don't read them aloud, and then release all the information after people have been selected, And the challenge there is that some bidders could say, oh, well, there's been bid tampering, it wasn't read aloud. However, that perfectly complies with Missouri statutes, the way it's written. Or read it aloud, and the condition that both, and I'll just say it because Clint was being very polite, both Paragon and R.E. Smith on a previous project got hit. Gina, the reference he made, that was the project Jessica and I were working on.
Hello.
The bids were read aloud. All the information was released. It was the very typical construction process in terms of turning over information to the public. One of those bid packages, and Clint owned up to this, he said, oh, that's screwed up. We have to rebid it. The problem is that all of the bids had already been read, and now all of these contractors knew everybody else's bids. And to be perfectly frank, there was some rather, it was not illegal, but incredibly unethical and immoral moves that resulted in somebody winning a contract because of that. And it pushed out not only the people that should have won, but that would have done a good job. Clint, I don't think ever wants to be in that position again. And that's part of why he's asking that the board give direction that R.E. Smith does not read aloud that information. I have no concerns about R.E. Smith, Barry Lawrence, or Paragon collecting the information, not tampering with bids, and releasing the information. We get it, we scan it, there's enough eyes on it, it's not a problem. The only problem is then people challenging that and the hoops you have to jump through on the challenge. I will also say that Clint has said he doesn't care which way we go. If the board has a preference, if there is a ethical or moral decision by the board that they want the bids read aloud, he will read them aloud gladly. He just needs direction on which way to go. Did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, one of the things he pointed out is, this is one of the things about being a construction manager at risk. He's assuming risk, and he's the one, it's R.E. Smith that has to stay with the budget that's set. So there's a lot at risk for him. And of course, either way we go, there could be problems. So it's really, picking one that maybe is the path to the least amount of problems. The one thing I did say that will be beneficial is that by the time the bid process occurs, we should be meeting back face to face. So if the bids were read aloud, we wouldn't be doing it over a Zoom, YouTube live meeting. It would be in person, and the companies would have to actually physically be at our meeting to hear it. And I don't know that they'll do that, but I don't know that they wouldn't.
On a $6 million project, there will be people in the
They
room.
might be there.
Yeah, but even then, that's yeah, it really just comes down to what the board is comfortable with. It's a risk either way. Neither could occur. It's a yeah, it really comes down to board preference.
And if you'll remember, we did have a little bit of that when we did the CMR process, because there was a little bit of a different interpretation. I can't remember, it was on, you all have to help me, that was on that committee. Remember on one of the financial things, it wasn't a big deal, and we're not talking about, $700,000 or $800,000 on a bid or something. It was a couple of $1,000s and it was fine, but that could have turned into a problem. I just can't remember what it was, but
I can tell you, in years past, when we've done these projects and we've done the bid openings, most of the people that submitted bids had a representative that showed up for them to open them. But They simply opened the bids, read aloud everyone that turned in a bid, and that was it. The dollar amount was not announced. And they certainly didn't talk about individual subcontractors or anything like that. They just simply read aloud so that all the people there knew that their bid had been turned in and actually had been opened by the board. So that's how, they did not go into the money end of it until they actually had time to sit down and go over each bid and look at it. So that was how, and I'm sure all of these things for the state have come about since then. Because the last one we would have done would have been like Pierce City, Marionville. But that's how they did it before. They simply reported all of the bids that they received from individual contractors.
The CMR process has only came up in the 80s. It's a relatively new process.
And we never used it at all. It was never anything that was introduced to us in any of these other projects.
One of the things that Clint said is that this particular state statute, because of how new it is and because CMR being so new, there's no court cases, there's no case law, there's nothing to guide anyone on decisions. So it's just kind of a, is everybody the most comfortable with moving forward with?
Well, we have a precedence where we've not read the amounts.
Okay. That's
of course,
good.
that was the traditional construction method.
The way it was done, yeah.
But you all have to decide how you want to do that. And
is there any benefit to reading the amounts?
So I'll use the traditional method. When you receive bids, you open them, you say, what Paragon's done. And this is a little different than what Joyce was just saying that you guys have done in the past. We will say, this general contractor, this was their bid, and we'll read all of their bid information out loud. Construction manager at risk means that you're receiving bids from every single discipline, subcontractor, scope of work, as opposed to general contractors, which you're only getting a handful or single digits worth of bidders. You don't read out the subcontractors' numbers. CMR, we've already picked the GC. Now we're picking all the subcontractors. So we would sit and read aloud every single one of those bids.
And there's going to be a lot.
Right. Just because of the number. So Katie, to answer your question, we would read out all those numbers on all those packages. And at that point, I don't think Clint did anything consciously, but if one of those bid packages isn't aligned just right, he'll have to rebid it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody knows the numbers. Katie, the flip side of that is then if we don't read the numbers aloud, the board, Gina and Joyce talk with Clint, they discuss who they want to select and numbers, they figure out the dollar amount, they come to the board, you go to closed session, and then you announce the numbers. That's when somebody could come back and say, well, you tampered with the bids, and that's why I lost. And it damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's
right.
Which one we want to go with.
The thing with us, of course, is we have to provide documentation for everything. It's all public. So we could prove that we didn't tamper with anything.
Gina, that's part of what Clint was talking about. The risk is on him because he's running the bidding.
Mm-hmm.
So Barry Lawrence doesn't, short of the information that Clint turns over to you, there's no backlash. The risk of bid tampering is actually on Ari Smith. Again, Clint has always given us all of the information at the time that it's received. I don't really have any concerns about that part of it, like actually occurring. It's more the perception and then people trying to take legal action afterwards.
We want the best people to get the bid because it's not, it's like what we discussed with Clint. you all have been really good. It's not always the lowest bid. It's really who can do the job. The money's important, but it's more important that we get it done right the first time, because we've seen how that has bitten us
Yeah.
in the past, where we went with the low bid or whatever, and we've got the poorest quality work, and then we end up spending 3 times the amount to fix it.
Well, I mean, that's what happened at Maryville. I mean, basically, the board decided on a builder
And I'm
based on the
frozen.
recommendation of the architect. And because they had a relationship, it did not work well for us. It did not turn out to be the best thing that we should have ever done. And so those type of things are the things that play into bids. You know, I don't remember whether he was the lowest, but he was, if he wasn't, he was darn close. But it was their personal relationship that decided that, and it didn't work out for our benefit.
Alex, does Clint have a preference since he's assuming this risk?
Yeah, he would prefer not to read the bids aloud. We lost Gina. Not to read the bids aloud and release all the information after the selection is made. I can tell you, having been on the periphery of that situation, there's a lot of lawyers, a lot of pain, he just never wants to be there again. Again, he will do whatever you ask him to do.
Well, my thoughts are, and this is the first time that I've ever done this, but I think a 2-week run in the newspaper that should be sufficient. And I think that we should go with Clint's recommendation.
I do too.
Well, and Katie, are you thinking like Springfield newspaper? Because I think it would be nice if it were in the local papers as well, since we're wanting to give business locally when we can.
Mhm.
I don't know how you specify that, Alex.
It's not us. This is the board changing board policy. So you guys can identify by the wording of the board policy if it's a local paper, if it's a regional paper, if it's a certified ad, if it's a non-certified. There's a whole bunch of intricacies to that, just on how you word it. But there's no. Yeah.
And in the past, I can tell you that we've always tried to do at least one local paper and one paper outside, like either Joplin or Springfield, because builders that are looking for projects are looking at ads across the board. And now that everything's online, you know, they're going to look, but we've traditionally always tried to go, depending on what county the project was in, we've always tried to go with a local paper and then a larger subscription paper too. Just because of that, so that it's, you know, if it's nothing but appearance's sake, at least we are trying to cover where the tax dollars come from. And that's where we want to make sure that all of our local people have, but most builders that are of any size to take on a project like this, they're monitoring bids from every newspaper around, anywhere close to a project this size. They're going to look at all the local ones, but that's traditionally what we've always done. And ours have to be legal ads. Ours always, you know, which costs us more to place them, but you have to have a legal ad, and that's just in our state statute. That's in our thing. So, you know, that kind of answers that.
Gotcha.
Well, I liked what Katie said. I agree with that. I'm afraid I'm going to have to get off here because I have to send, oh, good, Gina's back. I have to get my mom to an appointment. And I'm very sorry about that. Let's see what Gina says when she gets on. Hi, Gina. Yep. They've muted her. Joyce, what did you think of Katie's compared to what you have?
Well, I think it's absolutely, you know, it makes perfect sense. I mean, you can do things too quickly and then live to regret them. And I think a 2-week period is, you know, is absolutely necessary when we're spread out all over, you know, the lower part of this state, for people to get together to discuss all of this. Sometimes it's you know, that's a pain all by itself. So yeah, I think what she said was absolutely right. And it really doesn't it doesn't fly in the face of what we've done in the past. I mean, as near as I can remember, and sometimes that's difficult, but I think we always at least had a 2-week period in between ads. But the other part, the local paper versus the little bit larger, paper, we've always tried to do that. And I think we would definitely do it now.
I'm gonna have
We
to go show
probably
for
should,
Mom.
sorry,
I'm gonna have to get off here and go show
Okay.
for Mom. I'm sorry to mess everything up. Is that gonna leave you without a quorum? Do we need
So-
to vote on real quick?
1, 2, 3, 4, and you've still got 5 without you, but who closes the meeting? Who's left to close the meeting?
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
well,
Who's vice president? That's Wendy, right? Okay,
that's
who's
Wendy,
secretary
and
treasurer?
Julie's
Is that
not, he-
Julie? She's not here.
Julie,
So I would say that you're gonna probably have to make a decision pretty quickly, because you gotta have somebody officially close the meeting.
Well, and we had something
And then
else
we'll
to do too, right?
we'll
What else
have to
had to be-
delay the discussion. This discussion on Stiefel and LJ Hart will have to be postponed.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I forgot that you had to leave. But we do need to vote on the 2-week or whatever you all were discussing. Sorry, my internet crapped out on me.
I would
Okay, Dee,
recommend
do you
if-
want to repeat what you had suggested?
I think we should run the ads for 2 weeks, like Alex suggested, starting on a Saturday, running it the weekend after that. And then I think we should go with Clint's recommendation, since he's the one that assumes the risk. And then when the bids are open, we don't read the amounts until we go into
Okay.
closed session.
And then you also want to do local paper and at least one area-wide paper, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay.
Mr.
Gina, are
Piter, do
you-
you have any thoughts on this? You've been on some of these things.
I think what's been proposed is the best way to go.
Me too.
Okay, so are you the second, Mr. Piner?
Jan
Jan
seconded.
was.
And
Jan was,
Jan was.
okay.
seconded it.
Gina, are you back? Gina?
I think she's
Kinda.
frozen.
Oh,
She-
she's back.
Well, can you hear us, Gina? No. Okay. So I guess in that case, Wendy, do you want to make a motion to adjourn? Does anybody have anything else?
Well, can we do that? Have we accomplished the bare minimum, what we need to do? Do we need to vote? All in favor?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we need to
Yeah.
vote on the,
All
Yeah.
in favor?
I'll approve, so that one carried.
Okay. Well, and I am so sorry, guys, but my mom's gonna have my head if I don't get off here.
No worries.
Go, go.
We told
no
her,
worries.
go.
we
Family
told her
first.
she can't drive, and now I'm not there to drive her, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Wendy, are you making a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay,
uh,
I
and
so-
will.
everything else was tabled. Okay,
And Mr. Piter,
Mr.
and all in
Piter.
favor?
okay.
Aye.
Sorry, Alex. You guys.
Oh, you're
have a
fine.
good day.
Perfectly
Thank
fine.
you. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
bye.
Aye.
So Joyce, will Gina just let us know if we need to have a special meeting about the financing?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. And hopefully if the weather gets better, I mean, this'll work out a whole lot better than it has, because this didn't turn out real well. But yeah, we'll definitely let you know anything that has to come up that any information you need to know, we'll pass it on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess that's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Hopefully next time the sun will be out and it'll be warmer.
One can hope.
Yeah, boy. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay.
Gina, are you still there?
How did your meeting go well, sir?
Yeah.
Good. It was kind of sad at the end. I came in and I saw that we were there, was and Gina was on there. And bless her little heart, a little frozen picture was of her doing like this. You know, I know that's probably the way she's feeling right now. It's just, my goodness. I feel for you. I have a young man that is doing volunteer work. He's just getting in started. So
Well,
we're
thank you
getting
so
started.
much. for
Well, you are so
getting
welcome.
everything ready.
You are welcome. Hopefully it went well and had a good meeting.
Thanks to you.
Well, you stay safe out there.
Let me put that puppy on.
Yeah, I understand. You take care, sir.
Okay, thank you again for all your work.
And thank you for all you guys do.
Well, thank you.
little bit of a yeah. Well, it's ironic, you know, because I came on in that Monday after you went ahead and it was like, okay, it was like, we're already off, you know, and then it was just, well, you got to be off. I love it. I don't know. I think I'm old. And I didn't do anything for a week. And I think my body's like, whatever, weirdo. Sorry. Don't spend but a couple minutes out there. I need it. Okay, well, yeah, I told Jeff that he did call on the, I was gonna see what time is it? Oh, okay. Because I can't go ahead and get off early because I came on in and got started working. Okay, well, I hate to have you run. Okay, all right. What we'll try to do, our other president for the public. Boy, you see that grin coming through that mask, Peter. Because I had a picture of this was funny. I know that was cute. You have to admit that was pretty cute. Hey, that's worth bringing it. I'm never gonna listen to it. Oh, that was yeah. Okay, now we need to get into the yeah, residential community. That's such a good picture. Both of you guys, because you're both. I gotta breathe for a minute. Ah. Which side cup were you gonna need, Michelle? Oh, wonderful. Sir, if you want to go in there and get your pizza, good. Bring it back to the pizza and the pizza's almost ready. Oh, they, I don't have to come in, I checked their, he's worried about that. He called me and told me that. I told him not to worry, no, I told no, his was one of the pictures that he had videos. Yeah, I couldn't. Oh, I'm doing good. Got a lot going on. I'm doing some classes and stuff. Did Grandpa get in touch with anything on how it was going or anything? He went by.
Grandpa hasn't called me at all, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I think he just went by to look at stuff, and I hope he didn't stay out there too long at all, you know what I mean? So,